For the past week, I've managed to attain a new addiction on vintage lenses. I got the Canon FD 50mm 1.8, Vivitar 28mm f2 and f2.5, a Canon FD 70 to 210mm f4, and a generic CCP lens that the seller of the Vivitar lens threw in for free. Let's talk about them, break down why I specifically bought the ones I got, and maybe why old glass could be the key to reigniting your desire to romanticize life. This is not a gear review video, so I'm not gonna go deep on the specs or the history of these lenses, but I will review them on a "does this lens inspire me to use my camera more" rating. I'm gonna base my judgments off of the overall feeling that a lens gives me, which situations I would choose one lens over the other, and how I would use it to shoot a film. Let's start with the Canon FD 50mm 1.8. This is the first one I've got, and I bought this one first because back in 2016-2017 when I was starting out, the first lens I got, except for the kit lens, is the Canon EF 50mm 1.8, also famously known as the Nifty 50 or the Plastic Fantastic. That was the first lens beginner photographers, filmmakers bought. It's cheap and it has good value. I used it for almost everything, for every film, for every project, school project, because it was the only thing I could afford. But I fell in love with it. I like the 50mm focal length on APS-C as it brings this kind of neutral feel. Sort of feels like you're seeing the image through your own eyes. When you film something with a 50mm, it feels so genuine, so tactile, and like it's true to life. And as for my use for this, I swap between this and a 28mm. It's tighter so you get less of the environment in frame, but you get more personal when you shoot people. I also think it's the perfect focal length to get close to someone without feeling intrusive, unlike tighter lenses where you have to get close to get them to fill the frame more. For a film, it's a neutral lens, so technically you can use it with everything. For a wide shot, you can just step away and get everything in frame while having the neutral depth of field. It can be used for a medium, for a close-up, basically anything that doesn't need to be too stylized. It's perfect for that. The FD version of the 50mm I love because it's soft on the skin, it has the iconic FD warm look, and the way it renders images, along with all of these, they render images like a memory. And also for the adapter that I use the KNF one. This is the next one I bought. I also have my dog with me here. I really love this lens. The unique feature on it is its hyper speed style bokeh. It's something I've never seen before, and I think it's genuinely one of the coolest camera tech thing I've ever seen in a while. It gives off a very outer worldly feeling. Come here, ito. The only con I would say is that the front element spins along with the focus, so putting a variable ND filter on it would not work because variable NDs are made of two polarizers that spin around to get a darker image. And if you spin around with the focus, it would screw up the image. And unfortunately, the copy that I got, the aperture rings don't work on it. And I've fallen too in love with the look of this lens to give it back to the owner. And it's very rare to see one of these anywhere here in the Philippines or even near my city. So that's why I bought this one. It doesn't have the hyper speed bokeh that the f2 lens does, but the way it renders images feels like it's straight out of your brain's memory archive. I can't explain it, but it feels that way. It's soft, but not in a way that you can replicate in post. I also like the unique lens flare on it with rainbow circular look. I've never seen it before, and I really enjoy using it. And a big plus for video work is that the front filter thread doesn't spin. So you can have a variable ND on it and it would not be an issue. Over the past week, this has become my second favorite lens next to the Canon 50 FD. So how would I use these lenses? This one, the f2 the hyperspeed bokeh one, I would use as a specialty lens. For example, a character feeling anxious or worried, maybe they have this kind of outerworldly feeling. Maybe we can use the bokeh on this lens to portray that. This one, the 2.5, I would use as a general focal length lens as it pairs well with a 50mm FD. And if I want to focus more on showing the space and composition rather than isolating the subject. Let's move on. We're back indoors. Let's talk about this big boy. It's the Canon FD 70-210. What I'm saying about this lens also kind of applies to the CCP 70-200 lens. First of all, this is the last lens I bought after debating whether I should get this one or the Canon 35-105 one. But I thought I already have those focal lengths from 38 to 50. I need the 70-210 for maximum usability. But for this lens, I just got it and I haven't used it much. But what I know is that it's kind of parfocal. And I like that it's a constant f4 aperture. And from my brief testing, I've noticed that it has the same kind of rendering with the Canon FD50 with its warm tones and soft rendering. But how would I use this? For everyday use, maybe for products, close-up of other items or details. But for film, I love telephoto lenses because it evokes a different kind of feeling, because it's so uncommon to see something that compressed in real life. So it definitely offers a feeling of something heightened. When someone feels overwhelmed, you know, the images get compressed, the background feels big, and everything feels so overwhelming and massive. That's where I would use this. And I'm planning to use all of these in my next film, which I am going to submit in the film festival soon. So why vintage lenses? Why not cinema lenses? Well, first of all, I've owned some budget cinema lenses over the years. The Siri Nightwalkers and the 7 Artisans Vision that I both ended up selling. Cine lenses have great optics and character, but they're heavy. And as I've transitioned from being a DP and leaning more into directing and content creating, I've found that the cine lenses I had became more of a hassle than anything. They're too heavy for me and the focus throw is too long for solo operating. That's why I started getting into vintage glass. They're light, perfect for solo work and everyday use. And I also don't need a first AC to pull focus for me, as I can easily do it myself. At the end of the day, what lens you end up choosing doesn't determine whether you're a good filmmaker or not. Honestly, it really doesn't matter. What matters is that you choose the right tools that bring you inspiration and makes life fun to live and capture. If you have any comments or suggestions, let me know down in the comments below. Thank you, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.